In 1667, John Milton sits at his writing desk in London, blind and dictating to his daughters. He's building hell, scene by scene, Lucifer rallying his rebel angels, promising them freedom from divine tyranny. The chamber roars with applause. But Milton needs something else. He needs one angel who doesn't applaud, one figure who stands up, walks out, and damn near throws hands with the devil himself. Milton scans his memory, searching through scripture for a name, any name, that might carry the weight of absolute loyalty. His fingers land on a single verse buried in 1 Chronicles. A genealogy. A throwaway list of who begat whom that readers skip faster than the opening credits of a streaming show. Chapter 5, verse 15. Ahi, the son of Abdiel, the son of Guni, chief of the house of their fathers. That's it. That's the entire biblical resume. No miracles. No prophecies. No burning bushes or wrestling matches with God. Just a name in a family tree, sandwiched between dozens of others, preserved in ancient Hebrew as Abdiel, servant of El, the same meaning as Obadiah, cognate with the Arabic Abdullah, a name so common in the ancient Near East it's basically the equivalent of John or Mohammed. Milton takes this nobody, this genealogical filler, and transforms him into the first angel to physically confront Satan. The seraph who walks out of hell's strategy session while everyone else is still applauding the keynote speech. But here's where the story gets interesting. That transformation sticks. For 3.5 centuries, Abdiel becomes shorthand for the loyal dissenter, the faithful minority, the one good cop in a department gone corrupt. Artists paint him. Novelists resurrect him. Video game developers turn him into a boss fight. A single verse becomes a multimedia franchise, and nobody remembers the original was basically ancient census data. This is the story of how imagination grants immortality. The scene Milton constructs in Paradise Lost, Book 5, crackles with tension you can almost hear. Satan stands before the assembled angels, fresh from being told he must bow to the sun. His speech drips with resentment wrapped in reason. Who can in reason then or right assume monarchy over such as live by right? His equals. It's a boardroom coup dressed as a freedom movement, liberty rhetoric weaponized against divine authority. The angels murmur. Satan's logic lands. In Milton's cosmos, this is the moment, the hinge where a third of heaven's host chooses rebellion. And then Abdiel speaks. Milton gives him a voice like cold steel. Shalt thou give law to God? Shalt thou dispute with him the points of liberty? He's not afraid. He's disgusted. While everyone around him nods along with Satan's revolutionary manifesto, Abdiel sees through it, recognizes the narcissism beneath the politics, the power grab masquerading as principle. The chamber turns hostile. Abdiel's surrounded by angels who've already made their choice, who see him as the problem, the bootlicker, the one too stupid to recognize oppression when it's explained to him. Milton captures the isolation in 5 devastating lines. So spake the seraph Abdiel, faithful found, among the faithless, faithful only he, among innumerable false, unmoved, unshaken, unreduced, unterrified. His loyalty he kept, his love, his zeal. Read that rhythm. Unmoved, unshaken, unreduced, unterrified. It's a drumbeat of refusal. 4 negations that build into something positive. Loyalty so absolute it needs no justification. Abdiel doesn't argue anymore. He just leaves. He walks out of that hall alone, carrying the news of Satan's treason back to God. And here's the twist. When he arrives in heaven, breathless with his report, he discovers the war council is already assembled. God knew. God always knew. Abdiel's desperate warning was unnecessary from the start. But Milton doesn't present this as futility. He frames it as vindication. Abdiel did the right thing for no reward, no recognition, no strategic advantage. Pure moral clarity in motion. Then comes Book 6. The War in Heaven. And Milton gives his invented hero a moment every action film would kill for. Abdiel throws the first punch. Literally. When the armies clash, it's Abdiel who confronts Satan at the battle's opening, and his blow actually lands. Amazed he fell, Milton writes of Satan's reaction. The devil, stunned that someone would actually swing on him. Abdiel follows through, smiting Ariel, Ramiel, Ariosh, Milton names, turns his righteous warrior into heaven's special forces operative. Remember, none of this is in the Bible. This is fan fiction. Authorized, brilliant, culturally definitive fan fiction, but fan fiction nonetheless. Milton took a name that appears once, literally once, in a genealogy nobody reads, and built an entire character arc. Motivation, conflict, climax, resolution. And he did it so well that for 350 years afterward, when people think loyal angel, they think Abdiel. Isaac Asimov, when he annotated Paradise Lost in the 1970s, proposed a theory that stops you cold. Abdiel is Milton himself, the poet writing his own moral courage into the text. Think about the parallels. Milton served in Oliver Cromwell's government, supported the English Civil War, watched the Puritan experiment collapse after the Restoration. By 1667, when he's dictating this epic, he's blind, politically marginalized on the wrong side of history. The revolution he believed in has failed. So he writes an angel who stands alone against popular revolt, who sees through charismatic leadership to the pride underneath, who does the right thing even when it costs him everything, even when, as it turns out, his heroic gesture was strategically unnecessary. Abdiel is wish fulfillment. The fantasy that moral clarity matters more than winning. That being right justifies the isolation. And the poet Ambrose Phillips, writing shortly after Milton's death, made the connection explicit. In his pastoral poem Cider, Phillips refers to Milton as that other bard, and directly compares the poet to his own creation. The seraph and the writer blur together, both faithful among the faithless, both unmoved and unterrified. The self-insert theory transforms how we read those Book 5 speeches. When Abdiel denounces Satan's rhetoric, is that Milton denouncing the failed radicals of his own era? When Abdiel walks out alone, is that Milton's fantasy of having walked away from political compromise? We can't know for certain. But the theory holds because it explains why Abdiel works, why this invented character resonates with such emotional authenticity. Milton isn't just imagining loyalty. He's writing what loyalty felt like from the inside, in the silence after everyone else has left. The cultural afterlife begins almost immediately. Gustave Doré, the 19th century's premier illustrator, engraves Milton's epic in 1866. His image of Abdiel confronting Satan is pure theater. Two figures face to face, armor gleaming, heaven's architecture soaring behind them. Abdiel's posture radiates defiance, chin raised, wings partially spread, one hand gesturing in rejection. Satan leans forward, persuasive and dangerous. You can almost hear the argument crystallizing into violence. Doré's engravings cement Abdiel in visual culture. The name moves from text to image, becomes something you can point to and say, that's what standing alone looks like. The name spreads through unexpected vectors. Madeleine L'Engle, writing her time travel fantasy Many Waters in 1986, includes Abdiel among the seraphim, benevolent angels who interact with biblical twins. She keeps Milton's characterization faithful, protective, reliable. The name carries its own meaning now, importing centuries of context into her young adult novel. Margaret Weiss flips the script in her Star of the Guardians trilogy, making Abdiel a villain. The inversion only works because readers know what the name is supposed to mean. Turning faithful servant into threat creates immediate tension. It's like naming a traitor Galahad. Anatole France, writing The Revolt of the Angels in 1914, goes meta. His protagonist is a guardian angel named Arcade, who adopts Abdiel as his angelic identity while planning, wait for it, a revolt against heaven. France is deliberately inverting Milton, using the ultimate loyalist's name for his revolutionary hero. The irony is the point. He's asking, what if Abdiel had listened to Satan? What if faithfulness to God is actually betrayal of conscience? Stephen Brust picks up that thread in To Reign in Hell, 1984, making Abdiel the ambitious angel whose machinations spark the divine conflict. Again, the name functions through contrast. We know what Abdiel should mean, so watching him become the problem creates narrative friction. But the wildest resurrection? Shin Megami Tensei 5, the 2021 Japanese RPG, where Abdiel appears as an archangel representing the law alignment, absolute order, divine authority, the rejection of chaos at any cost. She's a major character, fully voiced, with elaborate armor design and a flaming sword. Her dialogue could be lifted from Milton: unwavering loyalty to God, contempt for demons, absolute conviction in hierarchical order. The game's developers know their Milton. Abdiel functions as the ultimate representation of law philosophy, the angel who will not compromise, will not negotiate, will not accept that divine authority might be questioned. To players who side with freedom and chaos, she's an obstacle. To players who choose order and structure, she's validation. Either way, she's unmistakable. The faithful one, the unmoved, the unterrified. A name from First Chronicles. A character from 1667. A boss fight in 2021. The line runs straight through 3.5 millennia, connecting genealogy to epic poetry to digital combat. And at every stage, the core remains, the figure who stands when everyone else falls. There's poetry in the linguistics, too. Abdiel, servant of El. Servant. The same semantic structure as Abdullah, servant of Allah. Both names built on the Semitic root for servant or slave, combined with the name for God. In Hebrew, Abdiel. In Arabic, Abdullah. Different languages, identical meaning, shared theology. This matters because it reveals something about how Abrahamic traditions construct identity. The highest praise isn't power or glory, it's faithful service. The name itself is a theological statement. Your relationship to the divine is defined by submission, by willing service, by acceptance of your place in the cosmic hierarchy. Milton intuited this. When he needed an angel who embodied absolute loyalty, he chose a name that meant exactly that. The name does the heavy lifting before the character even speaks. Servant of God confronts Lightbearer, Lucifer's name, and the conflict is baked into their etymologies. This is why the name travels so well across cultures. Whether you're reading Milton in English, Doré in French, L'Angle in American bookstores, or playing Shin Megami Tensei in Japanese, Abdiel carries its meaning like a genetic code. The name is inseparable from its theology, and the theology resonates across traditions that share the Abrahamic family tree. Every modern Abdullah has a linguistic cousin in every ancient Abdiel. The names are bridges, subtle reminders that the theological traditions we imagine as separate actually share deep grammatical DNA. Here's what makes the whole story sublime. Abdiel's cultural immortality is pure narrative power. Nothing else. He has no biblical adventures, no scriptural authority, no prophetic visions or miraculous deeds, just a slot in a genealogy, a name preserved because someone needed to track lineages in ancient Israel. But a blind poet in 1667 looked at that name and saw potential, saw the shape of a character who could embody everything the epic needed: loyalty, courage, moral clarity, the willingness to stand alone against beloved leaders revealed as tyrants. Milton built an entire character arc on etymology and imagination, and he did it so convincingly that for 350 years, readers have believed in Abdiel as surely as they believe in Gabriel or Michael. This is the cultural mechanism by which stories grant immortality, not through factual accuracy or historical documentation, but through emotional truth that resonates across centuries. Abdiel feels real because the moral situation Milton describes is real. Every generation produces its faithful minorities, its resistors of popular movements, its people who walk out of the applauding crowd and refuse the charismatic leader. Every whistleblower is Abdiel, every dissenter in an authoritarian state. Every person who says this is wrong, when everyone around them says this is necessary. The name becomes shorthand for a recognizable pattern of courage, and so artists keep resurrecting him, keep finding new contexts where the faithful one among the faithless makes sense. Victorian illustrators, 20th century novelists, 21st century game developers, all reaching back to Milton, who reached back to an ancient genealogy, extracting meaning from silence. The original Abdiel in First Chronicles probably never did anything memorable enough to record. He lived, he fathered children, he died, and his name entered the family records. Standard procedure for ancient Near Eastern genealogies, but his name survived, and 3,000 years later, that name still means something. Not because of what he did, but because of what John Milton imagined he could represent. The servant who wouldn't serve the rebellion. The angel who saw through the revolution to the pride underneath. The one who stood when standing cost him everything. In the end, that's more immortal than any miracle. Because as long as humans tell stories about loyalty and betrayal, about standing alone and choosing the hard right over the easy wrong, they'll need a name for that figure. They'll need Abdiel, the faithful one, unmoved and unterrified, walking out of the hall while the applause still echoes behind him.